Happy Wednesday.
Yeah, happy Wednesday to you guys. It's a beautiful Wednesday. Yeah, it seems like it's quiet.
So, when you look at this Minnesota defense, what impresses you about it, and what challenges does it present for you going into this game?
Well, they're just good on all three levels. They got a lot of talent. Obviously, a lot of resources have gone into selecting those players on the defensive side of the ball. A lot of number one picks, a lot of high draft picks. So they have talented guys, not only the starters, but the guys they bring in off the bench on the defensive line. Different linebackers have played, different DBs have played, and obviously they're a well-coached team. Zim does a fantastic job with them. They play hard, they play the right way, they're a disciplined team. They do a lot of things that help them win. They've taken the ball away a lot, and they're a good physical team that plays the game the right way.
What do you remember about Zimmer's time here?
Oh, I learned so much from him. He's a really passionate, fiery guy. He's a really good football coach. He helped a lot of individual players get better. He helped our defenses get better. I remember having a number of conversations with him about defensive football when I was playing here, and he was coaching here, and I learned a lot from him.
Do you expect Barry Church to practice today?
We do.
What have you missed?
Wilcox?
Don't anticipate Wilcox practicing.
What have you missed with Barry out of the lineup?
Well, I think one of the best things we've done as a team is, regardless of who's been playing, those guys have stepped into those roles. So obviously Barry's been a really good player for us. He's one of our leaders. He's been one of our captains for the last few years. And he's been a really good playmaker for us. But it gave J.J. Wilcox an opportunity to play more, and he played very well. Byron Jones has played well for us. Jeff Heath, when he's gotten chances, each of those guys has stepped in. So, Barry's been a starter for us for a reason, because he's a good player and a good leader for us. It'll be good to have him back. But those other guys did a nice job.
You've been giving up more big plays through the air. It's coincided with Church and Claiborne being out. Is that, you're not looking for excuses, but has that been part of that, adapting to that?
Yeah, I don't know if that's the case. I think if you look at the individual plays, when we've given up big plays, it's team defense. And there are a lot of examples of us playing really good team defense over the last 3 weeks, and there's some examples where we didn't, whether we didn't tackle well or we weren't playing with the right leverage or understanding what our coverage responsibility was and executing that. And you can point to those in the passing game. And the biggest thing we have to do as a coaching staff is identify what's been good, because there's a lot of good stuff out there defensively for us. But at the same time, we got to identify the stuff that hasn't been good. And it's very specific. It hasn't been one guy. It's been different guys at different times. And we're certainly going to make a concerted effort to get those things right going forward.
One more question about defensive backs, but over on the other side, with Terrence Newman, assuming he's healthy enough to play this week, just at that position for that long, what do you think of teaming?
Well, he's just been a great player in this league for a long time, and he's a heck of a person. And we were fortunate to be around him for a number of years here, and he was a really, really good player for us in Dallas, and a really good player in Cincinnati. He's been a good player in Minnesota. And you said it, not many 37, 38-year-old corners still playing. Oftentimes those guys move from corner to safety 5 years earlier in their careers, but he still goes out there and plays outside. He plays inside, and he looks like the same guy to me. He makes a lot of plays. He's a really good cover guy. Has a lot to do with who he is as a person. Really staying at the top of his game for all these years.
Is there a noticeable difference with Pat Shermer now calling the plays as opposed to with Norv Turner? Or is he kind of married the two and just kind of continue what they've tried to do?
Yeah, I think there has been a continuation, but there's no question you see some things that Philadelphia has run, Pat being there and Sam Bradford being there. I don't know. I'm not well versed enough to know if that stuff was in their playbook, part of their game plans in the previous weeks. But you see some more of that stuff come to the surface. But for the most part, they're doing what they do. Their running game has been fairly consistent throughout the year. You do see them throwing the ball maybe a little bit shorter than they have earlier on in the year for whatever reason. But we're careful not to overanalyze that. Hard to make wholesale changes in the middle of the year. They're just doing their best to try to put their players in the best position.
You expect Justin Durant to practice today?
Don't anticipate him practicing today.
Has DeMarcus Lawrence been as disruptive as you guys would have liked so far since he's come back?
I think DeMarcus has done a good job for us. There's no question about that. I think he's gotten better and better every week. He missed the early time of the year. He's been dealing with a couple different injuries and, fighting through the practice week and then then showing up in the games on Sunday. I think he's been a disruptive run player at times. He's been around the quarterback. Obviously, you always want more from everybody. He wants more from himself, but he's certainly done a lot of positive things for us.
Talk about the impact Damian Wilson's had. You seem to move him into that Durant role for a little bit the other night.
Yeah, Damian's done a nice job, and he really had a good off season for us. If you remember, he had the paintball incident coming into training camp where he missed a lot of valuable time for him because he had made a lot of strides, and over the course of the early part of the season worked his way back into that starting Sam role, and has done a nice job, and you see him getting better and better. Obviously made a really big play on special teams the other day, recovering the surprise onside kick. But then he's showing up on defense, and you said it, when Durant went down, he stepped into that role and did a really nice job. So really good example to his teammates of being prepared for any situation. He stepped up and really taken advantage of his opportunities.
He was the guy last year, I think he saw 8 or 9 defensive snaps the entire season, maybe just in one game. Is it that the normal progress you see a player year 1 to year 2 that he's kind of filled in with?
Yeah, I think as much as anything else, his first year was more about him learning. And he was a special teams player for us, and like you said, didn't get many snaps on defense. But we saw progress over the course of the year, and the biggest progress was made in the offseason. He had a really, really good offseason. That's why it was so disappointing that he missed the early part of training camp in the preseason. That put him back. But now he's really getting back into his stride, and what he's doing as much as anything else, he's doing his job, but he's also a real physical presence out there. You see him tackling really well, tackling hard. That's showing up on tape. That's jumping off the tape.
Since you lost Swain, used that extra lineman and Joe Looney quite a bit, how has he worked out in that role for you guys?
He's done a nice job. Joe's a professional, and he's really embraced that role. And we had that role for him early in the year when Swain was healthy, but obviously it gets magnified a little bit now. Gavin Escobar's done a nice job stepping in for the role that Swain has played and done a nice job. He's playing better and better. Seems more healthy than he's been. And then the third tight end role has gone to Jumbo Joe, and he's really embracing it. And a great animation when he tells the official that he's in the game. It's really fun to watch. But again, it's a great example of a guy understanding what his role is, what his responsibility is, and embracing it. And to have a physical presence there, another offensive lineman, that certainly helps you.
What is their decision to kick that surprise onside? Is that them just taking a risk, or is that maybe a statement about what your offense does to the decision-making process for an opposing coach?
I think you have to ask them. The biggest thing for us in that situation was to be ready. You always have to be ready, certainly if you're in that front line, for a surprise onside, particularly in a game like that when they might steal a possession. So I thought our guys did a good job handling that. Damian Wilson made a great play on that ball.
How do you think your guys have done handling Thursdays being Sundays and Sundays being Wednesdays?
They've done a really good job. Again, I thought last week's preparation leading up to the game was outstanding. Emotional, physical game against Baltimore, and then to come back and practice the way we practiced leading up to the Thanksgiving game was excellent. And the same thing the last couple days. You put that last one behind you, you get locked in, and I really do believe that everyone's focused on Wednesday this morning. And like you guys said, the traffic was a little bit lighter, but the mindset and the mentality is right. And off to a good start, need to have a good practice today.
You guys were on a pretty good roll defensively, got into the top 10, not quite as good the last 3 weeks or so. Is it a function as much of the offenses that you're playing that are some of the better offenses, or do you think you guys have not played quite as well?
Well, we certainly played some good offenses, good quarterback play. They've thrown the ball a lot. We've been in games where they've continued to throw the ball, whether we were ahead, and that invited them to do that. But again, there are a lot of good things. We did some good things the last few weeks on defense. Situational defense was particularly good. The red zone stuff the other day I thought was outstanding early on in the ball game. Defended the run well. Tried to force them to become a one-dimensional team. I thought we were able to achieve that goal. Having said that, too many explosive plays, too much yardage and cashing in on points late in the ball game. And those are things we've done a better job of earlier on in the year. So we got to make sure we get back to that. For a while there, we were around 17 points every game. And when you get into that 26, it's really a score, or maybe it's 1 or 2 possessions where you don't do quite as good a job. And that was the case the other day in the game. But a lot of good stuff to build on, but plenty of stuff to clean up as well.
How much do you guys pay attention to the batting average aspect of targets versus catches, and how much is Beasley's percentages just kind of off the charts of what you normally see, even in slot receivers?
Like with any stats, I think you have to put them in context. You have to understand, what kind of plays you're targeting a guy on. Obviously, there are higher percentage throws when you're throwing them shorter down the field. The lower percentage throws are the ones that are farther down the field. And I think we all understand that. Bees just does a great job, though. And one of the things that you like to do as an offense, you just like to recognize when we do this, what's the result? If we give it to this guy or throw it to this guy, usually good things are happening. We should do that more. Look for opportunities to create those chances for those guys. And, Bees is one of those guys. Besides just making the plays, he makes them at critical times. Converts a lot of third downs for us. Critical moments in the game when we need a play, he's a guy that comes up time and time again.
Did you have a chance to talk to Des about some of the post-game stuff from the other day, or you just gonna leave that be?
I've not spoken to him directly about that. Thought he did a good job in the game, staying focused and playing the way he needed to and cashing on the opportunities that he got. And the biggest thing for all of us is just to focus on the challenge this week against Minnesota.
Would you prefer not to see something like that from one of your guys after a game, some of the things he said?
Again, competitors, but the biggest thing for us is to maintain our focus going forward.
You're in that window now where you can't go, you're out of how many times you can wear pads the last few weeks, is that right? Will you be in pads today?
We will be in pads today.
Is it just a couple more left? Or
Yeah, I think we've got a couple more weeks.
With 3 games in 12 days, were you wondering, is this the right way, or is it just because it's a normal week?
Well, again, it's a Wednesday, and we tear some things down over the last few days with our practices. We'll do that again today and over the next couple days. But important for us to go out there in pads, practice with the physical style that we always practice on Wednesdays.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Good to see you guys.
See you.